Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with me. I have my special guest, Mr. Billy Davis, and he's going to tell us his story, and we're going to learn all great things, some great things. So, thank you so much for coming and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, Billy, how did your journey start?
I mean, it depends on, there's so many chapters of it. I'm originally born and raised in Kansas, so you could say that my journey started there. I'm the eldest child of two visually impaired parents, which you could say, that's an original story. It's a great story. I was born and raised in Kansas. My dad was a musician. My mom was a teacher. They were both blind. So I grew up with this interesting skill set of athletics and empathy towards people with impairments, and in an annoyingly optimistic household. And after high school, I was a pretty decent athlete. I was also a really good musician. I went to college on an athletic scholarship studying music. And that kind of, fast forward a few years, I end up in New York trying to get a record deal with a boy band that I was a part of. Got a couple deals, lost a couple deals. Our famous close shot was we got bumped by NSYNC the first time and by Drew Hill the second time. So we were in good company when that was kind of like they retired us.
Wow.
That was fun. And then stayed in New York. I'd been out here. That was around 1998. And was in New York, kind of living, trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. At the time I was working as a fitness professional for a big box gym. And eventually I just ended up, I was doing that personal training, like I said, living my best life. And then I had a really big life-changing event on May 19th of 2012. I was in a really bad motorcycle accident, and I was injured to the point, it was a very traumatic injury. I ended up I broke my compound fracture in a fibula tibia, dislocated my knee, broke my femur in two places, snapped my femoral artery, bled out, was in a coma for 5 days. I flatlined twice, 4 blood transfusions. And then when I woke up, first thing out of my mouth, can a brother get a cheeseburger and a Coke? I'm hungry. And that's a whole chapter of a story that you could start. And then, the part that I've gotten into later in life, that was 9 years ago. I'm 47 now. So that has evolved into a thing with cheeseburgers, where every year I raise money based on this whole cheeseburger saying that I did. And we raise money for people with disabilities and for people that need prosthetics. And that's become a real big part of who I am and why I do a lot of what I do. So now I'm 47, and I went from being a 24-year-old boy band member trying to find his future moving from Kansas to a 47-year-old amputee advocate for people with disabilities, real estate agent who does triathlons. So, I mean, there's like this huge wide spectrum of, the many lives of Billy Davis.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely read up about all that, and like that's interesting. And also the fact that you could have given up, but you didn't. You kept going. And a lot of times when people have been through those harsh realities and whatnot, sometimes they tend to lose hope. And what advice would you give anybody that has experienced similar things as yourself?
Well, I mean, I think I think that everybody goes through something. And I also am very clear that the universe, God, however you want to, manifest it, never gives you more than you can handle. So I think the important thing is to realize that you're not alone. So, there's an old adage, an African adage that I often quote. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And life is a marathon. You want to go far. So the thing is, link arms with people with common vision, common goals. A big mistake that people make both inside and outside of the disabled, the challenged community, is they think that they're the one and the only, and that just doesn't work out. We're not designed by that. The universe leaves clues. The collective is stronger than the individual in a lot of cases. So you link arms with people that have the same kind of vision. You link arms with people that are positive. You link arms with people that are that want to do the world a service and want to leave it better than it came. And through that unity, through that togetherness, you're able to accomplish great things. Not to mention, this, much like anything else, it's not like it's not like every day is a great day. You know, you have bad leg days. You have days when things aren't working out in your favor, flat tires or, you know, lost keys or whatever that is. And so you need to have people around you that can support you. When you need help, ask for help. You still there? Did she freeze?
Is it us?
I don't know. I feel like I'm still in here. So, you know, now I'm in here by myself. So, you know, yeah, that's a little bit about me, you know, and in the time that I've been, since I've been an amputee, I've turned my Cheeseburger Day event into a holiday. And so every year on the day that I celebrate that I woke up, May 24th, I celebrate with a cheeseburger and a Coke. And I invite people to donate the cost of a cheeseburger and a Coke to a foundation that we've chosen. Well, actually, it's my foundation, the Billy Davis Foundation. And inside of that, we give that money to different organizations.
I apologize. Like, it went out when you were explaining your story. So I don't know if it kept going on you or not when you were talking.
I believe it did.
I hope it hey, I'm okay if it just lost me and like I was out, that's fine. But I hope it kept going on you while I was
we had a moment of we're good.
Okay. So please continue. Like, I didn't get to hear like it went and I'm like, oh Lord. So
what's the last thing you heard?
You were telling your story. Okay, Elise said she heard good. Thank you, Elise. Good.
Okay. So you know, I guess the last thing I was just saying how a year after the accident, it took a couple of years, but we actually turned Cheeseburger Day into a holiday. It was about 3 years after I had an opportunity. I was, well, let me back up. When I was in the ICU, I remember really being, trying to grapple with my new reality. And at some point when as it was settling in, I remember thinking, I need to focus on something bigger than this. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it. And so I thought, what is the scariest thing, the biggest thing I could go for that would absolutely mean something? And what I came up with was triathlons. And I didn't know how to swim at the time. And I was never really a big runner. Like, I ran track in college, but I was a sprinter. And, and mind you, it's also worth noting, I told you I flatlined a few times, 4 times, in fact. When I got to the hospital, I only had I'd lost 85% of my body's blood volume. So you lose 5% of blood during a major surgery. So when I bled out, I showed up at the hospital with almost no blood in my entire body and ready to die just based on that. They kept me stabilized and then were able to operate. And that's when you had the 11 hours with the surgery, four blood transfusions, 2 flat lines, 5 days in a coma. So in waking up and not really, and really trying to grapple with what was going to be next, the scariest thing I could think of is triathlons. And I just kept seeing the word Ironman. And I thought, I got to do that. I got to figure out a way to do that. And that's been the goal. That's been the driving thing, is to do an Ironman. And, it started with, let's learn how to swim. And it took 3 years before I was able to figure out, like, put the pieces together to get into a pool and swim. And now I swim I'm a pretty decent swimmer, and it's still, I've got a triathlon coming up in a month or two, and I'm still like, I get anxiety around these things. But because I'm able to focus on something that's so much bigger than the leg, my biggest focus for the day is not how do I get my laundry, because, most of my days, my workouts are harder than any of the work that I put on during the day. I might put in 10,000 steps, but after riding 25 miles on one leg or going for a 1.5 mile swim, walking 10,000 steps is not that hard. So, you asked, what do I say to people that, that are going through a challenge, and how do they not give up? I say, well, find yourself a community, find yourself opportunities to challenge yourself and win or lose, and choose powerfully to learn from both. It's great to win. It releases endorphins. It makes you feel great. It's something you can get addicted to, but there's something in losing and failure and struggling and putting everything you have into something and seeing what works and what doesn't work. That is also of a lot of growth too. So.
That's amazing. And I suffer from anxiety myself. So like, what are some things that you do in terms of like when you go through anxiety? What are some things that you do
I,
that
you know,
that are helpful? Yeah.
I'm a fan of meditation, to be honest. Um, I'm a big fan of meditation. I'm a big fan of exercise. A little bit of stress is good, but in general, you want to manage your stress. And you talk about anxiety. A lot of times, it's nervous energy. So
Mm-hmm.
one way to make sure you don't have so much excess nervous energy is to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you don't have so much excess energy. So work out.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to control your breathing and control, because anxiety isn't necessarily based on a real thing. It's usually a perceived interpretation of a particular set of facts.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a metabolic manifestation. So you have to learn how to control your metabolism. And by metabolism, I'm referring to like your breathing, and your like you can slow your breathing down. That's a physical thing you can do. You can
Mm.
make sure that you don't have so much nervous energy by swimming or cycling or lifting weights or running or whatever that is, to help you manage yourself. And it's all about really being able to control your body from a physical standpoint as much as possible, so that when that anxiety hits, it doesn't overtake you.
That's true. That is true. Like you name some helpful things. Like I do the meditation, I do the exercises, also exercise, and then also like the lavender, the scents that help too, like the
Yeah,
candles,
yeah,
lavender, sages,
yeah. Sage, yeah,
orange,
yeah.
eucalyptus,
Yep, there you
vanilla,
go. Homeopathic. Oh,
birch. I think birch and something. It's a lot. It's a peppermint too.
oh
Mint
yeah,
too. So yeah, yeah,
yeah. All of those things are very, very useful. I mean,
yeah,
everybody's got a different path to their own personal enlightenment, but
yeah,
I think the important thing is that you look for your path. What
yeah.
doesn't work is to do nothing. So, I'm a big fan of throw your hat over the fence and then go get your hat. So, if you know that you have anxiety, choose
Mhm,
something to do, and then if it works, great. If it doesn't, what
mhm.
about it didn't work? And then you try something else.
True. I agree completely. So tell me about Iron Man. You mentioned that. So tell
Yeah.
me a little bit about that.
So Ironman is a triathlon. Basically, it's the ultimate triathlon. It was invented in Hawaii in the late 1970s, and it was basically, and it started with an argument between three athletes. As cliche as it sounds, a
Wow.
swimmer, a runner, and a cyclist, and they were trying to figure out who was the best athlete, the best endurance athlete. And so they decided on a particular day to do all three events in consecutively, and that was the first triathlon. And it has since morphed into, I think the first year like 19 guys showed up. Second year it was like 200 people, and then one year it got covered on Wide World of Sports, and after that it was like an event. And it has since morphed into a global organization of athletes that do these triathlons all over the world. And you have to work up to an Ironman. I am about halfway there in terms of like scope,
Good.
girth of the size of the event. But I am a very enthusiastic triathlete. And what a triathlon is it's a run. I'm sorry, it's a swim, cycle, and then run. Ironman. When people refer to Ironman, there is a particular difficulty that comes with it, and a very specific distance. The distance being 2.5 mile swim, a 112-mile bike, and then a 26.2 mile run, or basically a marathon. And so you have to do all of those things. An able-bodied person who competes in Ironmans regularly might do that in 8 hours, give or take.
Mm.
Um, a regular Joe might take them 11 to 14, and an amputee or a challenged athlete might take them a bit longer. I'm to the point where I think next month in July, actually, I'm scheduled to do the New York City New York City triathlon. That will be an Olympic distance, which is a 1 mile swim, a 25-mile bike ride, and a 6 mile run, which is still pretty, it's a pretty good day at the office, and you train for months for an event that's going to take less than 2 hours. It's a tough event, but it's also exciting. You're out there with all the other people. It's typically decent weather, when you're on the field, when you're on the course, everybody's an athlete. So, I'm riding my bike with my one leg and people are coming by like, you got this, bro. And meanwhile, I'm on the course with professionals and hardcore amateurs and other challenged athletes. Some are blind or visually impaired. Some of them have guides. Some of them are hand bikes. Some of them have different amputations, be it, above the limb, above the waist or below. It's a really exciting thing. And I enjoy it a lot. It's a really good goal to be on top of because it's a lot of fun and you learn a lot about yourself. Someone told me very early in my triathlon career, they said, in reference to Ironman specifically, they said you have to reserve yourself to a couple of things. One, it's going to be a long day. Two, it's going to suck. And three, you're going to want to quit. And if you can be with all of those things and not succumb to any of them, then you'll survive the try. And I have to say that in the triathlons that I've done, and I'm starting to get out of the amateur novice into the like medium moderate range, there has not been a triathlon that did not present a long day, did not suck, and did not make me at some point question what I was doing. And then you're always out there some point going, why am I out here? This is crazy. I don't want to do this. Okay, we're going to do this. And then you put your face in the water and you start swimming and you go for it. You put your bike leg on and you go for it. You put the running leg on and you run. So it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
So in terms of bike riding, I know you cycle. Do you prefer the electric one or the manual ones?
I've never even touched an electric bike. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know they exist. I've never used an electric bike. I wouldn't even know how to turn one on. Is that how they work? I don't know how they work.
I don't know. I want to try one because I thought when I was getting one of the e-bikes, when it said e-bike, I'm like, oh, electric bike in DC. And it was not electric.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was like, no, I can't do. I was going up a hill and I was like, oh, this is too much for me. I went and parked that bike and got on the scooter and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just do the scooter. And I was so mad. I was like, I want my $5 back. Like they lied. It said e-bike. I'm thinking electronic bike.
I think you still have to. Wow. I think you still have to put some power into them to make them go. Yeah. I have a good old fashioned road bike over here. So yeah, I don't know anything about e-bike. They lie. Okay. Yeah, I would love an e-bike. An e-bike would make my life way easier, but I would get spoiled. I don't know. I'm a glutton for punishment. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you still have to like put some effort into it, but no, this was definitely a manual bike. Like maybe they put the wrong tag on it or something. I'm thinking
maybe the battery was dead. Maybe the battery was dead.
Possibly that. Yeah. We
needed to charge it.
That could have been it.
So e-bike got no battery.
I know, right? So with the cheeseburger day, how do you pick the restaurant that's going to be the area where you get the cheeseburger?
That's a great question. So the first year that we did it, the first year that we did Cheeseburger Day, we were at Corner Social. And the reason, actually, let me take that back. That first, when we did Cheeseburger Day, there was no fundraiser. It was just every year on that day, May 24th, which is the day that I woke up, I would go somewhere and I would eat a cheeseburger. Usually my girlfriend would come with me and then I would put a picture up on social media that said, hey, everybody, remember that day I didn't die? I got my cheeseburger, And people respond by putting up pictures of cheeseburgers. Hey, Billy, glad you didn't die. Hey, Billy, we miss you, And it wasn't really a thing. And then one year when I had the opportunity to fundraise, we needed a venue. And it just so happened that a restaurateur in Harlem named Raphael B., he owned a theater that we had used for another fundraiser for me. And he was running a restaurant in Harlem. So we said, hey, you're a big fan. Would you mind if we did something here? And he was so enthusiastically, yes. He just wanted nothing but he wanted to create the burger. He wanted to create the menus. It just provided a whole new project for him to work on. So for a couple of years, we were at Corner Social. This last year, we changed to a different location, which is one that he owns now called Cecil Steakhouse, which is on 18th and Frederick Douglass. It's a wonderful place. It's got a great vibe, indoor, outdoor seating, perfect size. And again, the restaurant is the menu is amazing. And he crafted 3 burgers for us. He did a Billy Davis, he did a Billy burger, he did a Nicky Kimbrough burger, and he did a veggie burger. And they were all smash. Everybody loved them all. So yeah, I think, you know, we went with a guy rather than go with a restaurant. We followed a guy, and Raphael has been nothing but amazing. So yeah, it was a good choice.
So music wise, I know you're like literally, so what made you want to do music?
Well, my father was a musician. He was a saxophone player, and so I grew up listening to my dad play horn licks all the time. He would put his headphones on, and you would just hear like the licks, all the horn lines from every album that you could imagine from the 70s and the 80s. You know, anything with jazz or a funky horn, he was playing them all. And then he would have his friends over, and it would be his saxophone and Jim on a flute and some guy on a trumpet, or dad one sax and somebody else on another one, somebody else on another, and clarinet. And it was always horns. And then eventually it was always bands. So, you know, music was a way that I connected with my father. And when I went to school, I learned pretty quickly that I had a pretty decent voice. So I would sing, and I would always end up in like the elite choirs, and I got a lot of solos. And in church, I was always picked to sing. When the choirs would do, I would get picked to do a lot of solos there. So as we got older, it was just pretty easy. It was always just a really cool thing that I could do. And eventually in high school, I ran into a gentleman named Roger Ortega, who you might know, you know, R&B pop singer and our pop writer. And Roger and I became really good friends very, very quickly. And one day we had a 0 hour, I want to say it was our sophomore or junior year. We had a 0 hour class that started at 7, and Roger was always late to this class. And then he would get there and he would sleep. We're best friends. We sit next to each other, and I'm like, dude, why are you always asleep during this class? But he would always come in with the best stories. He'd be like, yo, man, this weekend we were at the fiesta in Chanute. Oh my goodness, it was a blast. I just got home. I'm so tired. You know, he passed out. I'm like, I want to go to Chanute. I want to hang out at the fiesta. Like, so I knew he had a band. He had a boy band with a couple of his cousins. And so I just, you know, eventually one day he's like, hey, man, you ever want to think about joining? I was like, hell yeah, of course. I was waiting for you to ask me. So I auditioned for him. And next thing I know, it was the 4 of us, you know, 17 years old, traveling around with Roger. And his dad's at the time had a Tejano band that's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, La Familia. And we would travel with La Familia because Roger's dad was the bass player and all of his uncles were the rest of the band. So the agreement was we would show up and we would load the trucks and unload the trucks. And then in return, when they took their 15-minute breaks between sets 1 and 2 or 2 and 3, we would perform. So we were guaranteed 30 minutes of stage time in 15-minute increments. And we spent a couple of years just doing that. And it went from covers to really bad originals to better covers, to kind of okay originals to really good covers to more bad originals. And then, you know, eventually we started writing songs that actually worked, and we kind of learned how to work around the equipment. And next thing you know, we had a working band. And by the time we graduated high school, we were really good. And we decided to keep it up through college. And by the time we all got out of college, the boy band was making money. Of course, we rotated a few members by then, but it was basically our core 4 of Roger, myself, David Spritzer, and Irvin Williams. And by the time I was, you know, we were in our early 20s, we were a money-making business. Traveling around the Midwest, we spent a summer touring with Color Me Bad, opened up for all these different great acts, and, you know, Morris Day and the Time, Rose Royce, you know, Bass, you know, who is it?
I want to rock right now.
We definitely opened up for Rob Bass, CNC Music Factory. Like anytime a group like that would come through, we would be the group that would the local group. And eventually, you know, we decided to do something. We felt like we'd done everything we could do in Kansas, so we moved to New York to try to make it. And we came really, really close, and we didn't. And you know, 3 of us are still out here, and you know, we're all still great friends. You know, so that was kind of how that happened.
That's awesome. So I have a viewer, one of my classmates, former classmates from high school. He wants to know what was on that Billy Burger.
The Billy Burger. Oh, so this year's Billy Burger had pepper jack cheese, avocado, and what was it? Pepper jack cheese, avocado, and a red pepper slice on it. It was really, really good. The Nicky Burger was a bacon and cheeseburger with Swiss, I believe. And then the veggie burger, I forget how they made that one. I like anything with guacamole, avocado, bacon, and barbecue sauce. So anything sloppy and Tex-Mexy, or, I think bacon is God's gift, and I love avocados.
Yes, avocados are good. People sleep on avocado.
The only thing that makes avocado better is when you turn it into guacamole. So, because I also like spicy and tangy. So yeah, but the Billy Burger was amazing. There's some pictures of it on my social media. It was, oh, my only regret is I couldn't eat more of them. I wish I had it in me to eat like 2 of those. I should have taken one home. Yeah, I wish I had more. Next year we're taking one home. Yeah, I wish I could have eaten more, but I got to mind my girlish figure, or my high school figure.
Gotcha. So, what's your vocal range?
I was a baritone tenor too.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. I was, like I said, pretty good. I studied music theory and composition in college, and I was blessed with a really good ear. So, where vocally I'm pretty good. My real talent was in my ability to hear. I hear things a little bit different than most. So my compositions reflect that. And I'm a big believer where a lot of people attribute great vocalists to their ability to manipulate their throat in terms of their vocal ability. I always think that a great vocalist is able to hear things a little bit different. I think they hear choices different. I think they hear harmonics different. And I think they hear concepts different. And when you get these amazing composers, you end up with a Prince who creates his own sound just because he hears instruments different. Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, they hear instruments differently. So that was always the thing that I thought was different about us. And I tried to put that on slow motion. Like when we would, I remember actively composing, I was in charge of a lot of the harmonics and the acapella stuff. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking and discussing with the guys, we wanted to set up harmonies and counterpoint and background vocals that were not easily duplicatable. So we were really tight with our harmonies, which takes a lot of practice because you have to be able to hear when you put harmony, when you stack them really tight, you have to be able to hear when somebody's even the tiniest bit off so that they fit. And the closer the harmonies, the better everyone has to be able to hear, or it doesn't sound good at all. So, I would, it's great to have really powerful 3 and 4 part, but we built a lot of really jazz centric, complex musical theory into our boy bands.
And that's interesting because I know when I was a music major at one point before I changed into a music minor. But anyway, like I know, yeah. So my late great choir director, Mr. Glenn Halsey, he would always hear if somebody was off. Somebody in the tenor section, you off. Somebody in the alto section, you're off. You're too sharp. You're too flat. And like it really helps because like with that ear training, you can hear when somebody's flat and sharp, or when somebody came in too soon or too late. And with the theory, wow, I got a C in theory.
Yeah.
A story about that because see, it should have been a B. It could, but it was one of those things where
theory is hard.
It is. It's the math of music. People don't understand. It's it has the ability to make you go crazy. So I know people that literally changed their major because they couldn't pass theory.
If you're a music theory major, you'll appreciate this. So I didn't play an instrument growing up. I broke a clarinet at an early age, and my music lessons were over quickly. But I did sing really well, so I majored in music theory. I'm learning all these things, and I was in an acapella group. So one of the things I got really good at was writing acapella charts. Now, my dad, when he heard music, he heard colors. When I hear music, I hear shapes. When I hear a solo, I see a line that does like lines and squigglies and straights and angles. I see angles and that sort of thing. So when I would write my theory, a lot of times I memorized. I mean, I would always start with, your basic chord structures, but to me, it looked a certain way. So as I looked at it, I was literally painting a picture with the notes. And then when I would sing it, I wasn't always exactly sure how it was going to sound, but I knew on the paper, based on the theory, that it looked a certain way. So I could see jazz that way. I could see dissonance that way. So that was how I composed. I would look over the page and be like, I'm looking for a different angle with this. And it's kind of hard to explain, but that's how I did it. And it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed my acapella days.
I've heard of people saying that like they look at things differently. Like I can understand like with music, like for me, I can just sit and I can talk to like my brother from college and we'll just like that song sampled. That song could have been this song could have been that. Like we'll just sit and have like a full-blown conversation about music, about how, okay, I bet if this artist would do this song, it could sound this way. And just it's interesting. Yeah.
My father also had perfect pitch. So that made it like when in terms of my music, I was a little snobbish about it because I didn't realize that I was being snobbish because my dad had perfect pitch. So I remember him like one time I was in college. I had a pitch pipe on me because I was in an acapella group. And I would always play my pitch pipe. And if you have a pitch pipe, if you hold it long enough, it gets dented, it goes wherever. So one time he was telling me about his perfect pitch. I'm like, you don't have perfect pitch. He goes, yeah, I do. I was like, what's this? And I like blew something on my pitch pipe. He's like, that's an F, and your pitch pipe is dented. Everybody was like, oh, damn, that's a new pitch pipe. Like he was that good. So as much as I aspired to be like my dad, I didn't have perfect pitch, but he did.
You can build it though. Like
yeah,
you can
he was also visually too. So like, not that one. I mean, I don't know if one. I assume one had something to do with the other, but he was. Yeah, I had really good relative pitch, but Dad had perfect pitch. He was amazing. Yeah. Shout out to Wild Bill. We miss him.
And so, if you could choose anybody to work with collaboratively in the music arena, who would it be?
Oh my goodness! Oh,
I know there's so many.
Yeah, there's so many artists that would be amazing to play with and to work with. I mean, obviously, you think of greats like Quincy Jones, composers like Hans Zimmer, vocalists. I would love to watch Beyonce work. I would love to watch a creative genius like Kanye work. I'm not a fan of him as a person, but as a musician, he's brilliant. Yeah. I mean, you got to think like, how did Prince put together music? I mean, there's so many. Stevie Wonder, like, how does that? I mean, even somebody like Ed Sheeran. Ed Sheeran, crazy talented kid with a guitar that just, that guy just sits down and just music just flows from him. So there are so many artists. I mean, 80 Empire out of Canada. I listen to some of the stuff they do, and I'm blown away. I was never an incredibly great, talented producer. So, and I didn't really push it that hard, but I give so much credit and credence to anybody that can create from the ground up, like growing up, I was a big fan of like Jodeci and Dalvin were big. I was big, with them, and Michael Bivins, of course, who had the whole run with ABC and Boys to Men, and then you had Timbaland, his whole thing. I would love to see how he created. Like those are the people I followed. So, who was the guy from Atlanta? Jermaine Dupri. Like I watch Jermaine Dupri work.
Yeah.
Any of those artists would make me happy. I love to watch people that are really good at what they do be good at what they do. Something about just hanging around greatness, that's a good thing.
Definitely. Like with music, it's like a lot of the people that you name. So I'll just say this. Somebody is coming out with an album or they're getting back together.
Really?
On the street. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna let you figure out which one it is. You named it. So
if any of them come out, I'm happy. I'd love to see Jodeci get back together. I know Boys to Men is still floating around.
Sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
I don't know why my Siri just kicked in. I would love to see any of those people get back together. Those were all, I'm a child of music from the '90s. Late '80s. So New Jack Swing, Teddy Riley.
Yes.
I mean, he was responsible for Guy, Blackstreet, and who was the hip hop rap group, Rex and Effects. Freaking Teddy Riley. I mean, the guy's amazing.
Yeah.
So, any of those artists, if they came back, I'm in. Sign me up.
Who are your top female and male vocals of all time?
Oh man, so male vocals,
singers that all the time. So your singers. So go ahead.
So my favorite male vocalists would include, in no particular order, CeeLo Green, Brian McKnight. I would. CeeLo's a rapper, but that man can sing too. Brian McKnight, Ooh, goodness. I would say John Legend I love listening to John Legend sing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, God, there's so many, everybody, there's just so many females. I'm a huge fan of course, Beyonce, Janet Jackson, although I can never understand anything she's saying. I just like her whole presentation. Uh, Beyonce, of course, she doesn't like Beyonce, but Mary J. Blige is really high on my list. I'm a big Mary J. Blige fan.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to her. She's got a star on the
Yes.
Hollow Walk of Fame. I mean, they're just anybody that's really good at what they do. I mean, I don't speak sign language. Oh, I'm being told I should say Whitney Houston.
I was about to say, like, yeah, you cannot have the voice on a countdown. I mean, on the.
You're right. You're right. Whitney Houston is amazing. I mean, again, there are so many amazing voices that we had the pleasure to grow up listening to. I just, there are so many to name. My CD, player thing used to just be stacked with amazing. So
I like people from the 80s, the 90s, the 70s, and so it's
yeah. Patty, I mean, now we're getting into everybody's favorites, but talk about mine. I mean, but I'm also a fan of Alana Davis, who I think is an amazing vocalist and songwriter who predates Norah Jones. Hold
on, Alana Davis, Black Velvet and a little. Is that her?
No, that's Bonnie Raitt.
No, that's Alana.
Alana Davis had 30 flavors. We can a little closer. We had that little flavors and then
somebody wrote that Black Velvet song. She's from Canada. That lady. She's from yeah.
Well, you might be thinking of Alanis Morissette.
No, not her. That's the one
I'm also a big fan of.
Jagged Little Pill.
Yeah, that's Alanis Morissette. I love her too.
Not her. I'm gonna look it up. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up because I want to. Hold on, what is it called?
Yeah,
hold on. Black Velvet.
All of a sudden now you can't spell velvet, right?
Yeah, her name is what's her name? Alana Miles.
Alana Miles, yeah, that's somebody else.
Okay. Oh, wrong. You said Alana. Who did you say? Alana.
I said Alana Davis.
Alana Davis. Okay, that's okay.
She did a song. She had a hit called 32 Flavors. It was a Joni Mitchell. She's an amazing folk singer. So, yeah, I mean, I grew up in the Midwest too, so there was a lot. It was hard to get your R&B fix. So you had to figure out like, okay, am I doing more rock and folk or am I doing the country and Christian? And I just moved into the rock and the folk.
Yeah, I grew up in the Midwest too. So like I'm from Michigan originally. So yeah, I definitely like the whole genres of music. Like what's her name? Amy Grant.
Yeah. Love Amy Grant. Peter Cetera. I was a big Chicago fan. So
yes.
Fly, Chicago, Journey. I mean, Steve Perry. Yeah,
the Eagles,
Boston, Kansas,
John Bon Jovi.
Yeah. Live concert was a Bon Jovi concert.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of just music in general. I love watching a crowd move. There's something when I was lead singer of different bands and whatnot. There's something about being on stage and watching a crowd, taking a crowd through a wave of emotions from a song or a show that's just very unique to musicians, and being able to have a part in leading that charge has always been a really cool thing to me. And then from a harmonic standpoint, I used to love the aspects of acapella and even the R&B boy band thing, because you could build these harmonies that produce such unique resonations inside of a room, especially if you've got good acoustics and good audio, that were just mind blowing.
Yeah.
Changes and certain chord changes, combine those with a message and it could be a soul stirring experience.
That 5-part harmony is really good, and also the 4-part. And like when I think of boy bands, I think of guy bands. I'm gonna have to name a couple of them. So Shy.
Yes.
Boy
if I ever fall. Love those guys.
Yes. And Color Me Bad, of course.
Of course. I adore music.
New Edition. Yes.
Yep. Can you stand the rain?
Menudo. I gotta
Yeah.
look. I went way back. Menudo.
Yeah.
It's funny because once you grew a beard, you got kicked out of the band.
No, once you turn 16.
No, once they saw Peach Fuzz, they kicked you out.
I heard it was always an age thing. You got kicked out after at a certain age.
I don't know. Once that hair no, because think about it. It's some people that didn't start getting hair until whenever. So like they just kick you out. That's wrong. But I don't know. Hey, it could be that. But like, New Kids on the Block.
Never a fan. I mean, they're awesome. I respect the hustle.
Like all of them.
I respect the hustle. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but
no,
I was very clear. I was very clear that they were a New Edition knockoff.
They were in a way. They had the same management. Maurice, they did.
I remember them growing up. I was never like New Kids on the Block. I was like, eh. I was just so invested in New Edition. And again, those guys put out some amazing music, and God bless all of them. They've aged well, and they're still doing their thing. But they were never on any of my top anything. Roger loves them, and I God bless them but they never resonated with me for some reason.
Yeah. I liked them, and then also, I'm trying to think of, you name High Five.
High Five was great. I liked the way. Yes.
Yes.
There was them. There was Rip. There was Into You.
Yes.
Yes.
Innovision. Intro.
Intro. Yeah.
Idea.
All of we used to get CDs. Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to get those CDs and listen to all of them, just trying to steal some stuff, trying to figure out how everybody else was doing it. So yeah, I'm a big fan of anything group related in that early '90s New Jack Swing era.
Yes, and then of course Guy. That was just. I mean,
let's chill.
That album was the best album.
Yeah, big
best album. So as far as fitness, so what do you like the most? Do you like training people, or do you like speaking as a motivational speaker, or do you like actually like training yourself? Which one do you like the most, or do you like all of them equally?
Well, I've since kind of retired from my fitness career in terms of training people, so I don't mind speaking about it. I'm always available to lend. As you can tell, I love to talk, so I have no problem talking about fitness. I love training myself because I know the benefits and I understand, it's hard enough being an amputee, but being an out of shape amputee is much more difficult. So I love training for triathlons. I'm going to get up tomorrow. It's going to be a beautiful day. Try to get in 30 miles or so. I'm always down for that. But yeah, probably training for events. I mean, these days I've transitioned into real estate. That's what I do full time. Awesome. So that's a lot of my focus. But shy of that, it's probably training for triathlons is probably that's very much my zen. That's my me time. That's that's how I go out and I clear my head. I breathe fresh air. I get my sun, and I push myself. I come back and ready to hit the day going. Hit the deck running, so to speak.
So since COVID, how has things like helped or not helped you? The pros and the cons, because there's some good things that came out of COVID. Yeah.
Well, I think that I'm all about hanging out and connecting with like-minded people. So, as terrible as COVID was for so many people, it seems that they were able to pretty quickly identify if you have a certain type of lifestyle and you can take care of yourself. There are things you can do inside of that are still okay. So, we social distanced, wore masks. I live in New York City. New York City was very accommodating towards all of the mandates. And because of that, my training regimen really didn't change that much. I'm a big cycle swimmer. I like to ride my bike. I like to get in the pool. So, you can socially distance on a bicycle pretty easily. I'm moving miles an hour on two wheels. There's nobody within 6 feet of me anytime. So if I'm riding by myself, I can get my exercise in and I'm pretty safe. And when they open the pools, again, you're not really within 6 feet of anybody at any particular time and you're in the water. So COVID isn't transmitted that way. So I didn't really suffer that much of a training thing from that.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that if you were able to, live healthy and do the things you needed to do, there was an opportunity to see if you could find a way to hustle. And I did the same thing.
Amen.
I put my hustle hat on and tried to figure out, okay, things are different. They're getting reset a little bit. I also went out during COVID and I protested, alongside a lot of our brothers and sisters for Black Lives Matter and, and on behalf of a lot of people that were also affected by, police violence and that sort of thing. But when I wasn't doing that, I was also training rides and focusing on my new career as a real estate agent. So, I think if you could, it would have been easy to go through the pandemic and come out just fatter, slower, and having not done anything. But I'm not really wired that way. So the people I know and the people I'm close to and I care about, we all tried to figure out ways. Once we knew we were safe, it just became, how can we all hustle and figure out a way to find an opportunity or a silver lining in this cloud?
I agree. Like literally a lot of my friends, we were just like, man, like what are you working on? Everybody got into their little personal caves, and we didn't hear from people, but we knew they were working on some of them. Like, okay, I see what you're doing. And for me, like I just started, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do podcasting. I just wanted to do, somebody put it in my head. They're like, you should do that. I said, no, I don't know. And so for me, I just was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start just reaching out to people. And I think that'd be great, and helping people, like that'll help people cope and bring some joy and all of that. And that's
awesome.
I feel like with podcasting, literally, now, well, concerts are open back up. Go check out Ticketmaster because they are opening back up. But anyway, so I was just like, I'm gonna take advantage of take advantage of the moment and just do some podcasting outside of working, so that helps, it brings a lot of joy to me. So I'm like, I enjoy it.
Good. You should have something
meeting people and getting to hear their story, and just like, giving free promotion to individuals. That's cool. I enjoy that. So, hey.
I mean, I think that if the pandemic didn't bring the hustle out of you, then it was never there to begin with. So
I agree. Like a lot of people, they were like, oh no. I said, no, you got to keep going. And so I worked on different things such as music and like on a keyboard. I'm still working on that. The sewing machine, I started sewing. I'm about to take that sewing class, and I got a whole bunch of fabric, stuff like that. So yeah, and it pushed me. It made me look at different things. I said, okay, I can do this, and
that's awesome.
Thank you. So yeah, I agree. So as far as with the real estate market, oh my God, I know it's just gotten crazy. Like with the house market, the prices are going up. And so it's pretty much what is it? I might say it wrong, but it's in DC. I want to say, was it a buyer's market? Not a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. That's what
seller's market. The prices have been kind of crazy. The market is active. I'll say, depending on where you live, it's active in different ways, but it's definitely active. One thing that the pandemic did do from a real estate perspective is it forced everybody to sit and look at their apartment or their houses for extended periods of time. And if you look at anything long enough, you're going to start figuring out things you don't like about it, things you want to improve. So a lot of people came out of their apartments going, you know what, this ain't big enough. I don't like these walls. I need more space. I need another room so I can get away from him because he's driving me crazy. I need an outdoors. It happens. So
yeah, that's true. Like the pandemic with relationships, some people's relationships, they decided, I'm getting a divorce. I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Wow. That's what I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So in terms of the real estate and everything, that the career shift and whatnot, what has been the most hardest thing for you going into real estate?
There are so many moving parts. So to learn them while on the job has been a big challenge. But, I'm blessed to be with a really great team. I'm blessed to be with a really great company. And I've got really great mentors in management and just people around me. So, it's a lot of work. It's a Again, a lot of moving parts, but it comes. You do your time and you get used to it, and you figure out how to make things more productive, and productivity breeds profitability in a lot of cases. So it's no harder than anything else would have been. Making, where personal training is a lot more like, fitness is a lot more schedule based. Real estate is a lot more free form, especially in the mornings. There are no real estate agents that are up in the office at 7 a.m. That just doesn't happen. And for the last 20 years, I'm used to being up at 5:30, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So I have to be somewhere, whether it was at a job or, at a gym somewhere. So to work in an industry where all of a sudden your phone really doesn't ring until maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, and then it may not ring. It may not do anything. You might just be getting emails, and all of a sudden you think you're having what looks like a day off, and all of a sudden at 1 o'clock you start getting phone calls about a listing. So it's a lot more. You have to be a lot more active and a lot more insistent when it comes to getting your leads and trying to close business. But the payoff is better, so I enjoy it.
That's awesome. And with real estate, so okay, when you're looking at, did you find it hard to learn the different types of interiors and the architecture of the housing?
Not really. I mean, with one of the good things about technology today is you can learn a lot of things really quickly. And not to give away too much about how the sausage was made, but whatever industry you're in, you really only need to be a couple of pages ahead of the person you're talking to appear like an expert. I'm really good at taking direction and asking questions. And at the end of the day, if you just say what you say it just enough to get, I'm trying to help someone find something they're already looking for. So
your screen's going blurry. Not to cut you. Your screen's going blurry. I want to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of already helping people buy something they're already looking for. It's not the screen. So if somebody tells me you want a condo in Brooklyn in a certain neighborhood, I just need to look, okay, budget, timeline. What are you looking for in a house? New kitchens, renovated bathrooms, whatever. We do that part. In terms of the architecture and the design, you design your own place. If you tell me you want a particular type of design, I'll find that. But a lot of times it's really like, okay, well, you're looking for this type of thing. Let me help you find that thing easier. And then when you find the one that you like, let's run it up the flagpole. So it's a lot less about, I don't have to necessarily be an expert on architecture to be great at real estate. I just have to be good at asking questions and finding facts. And if I don't know the answer to something, I'll say, I don't know. Let me get that question answered for you. And, it tends to work out. I mean, and, you keep your mouth shut, you learn a lot. You'd be surprised how much you learn by just listening. So when I go in and there's another agent showing an apartment and I've got a client with me, I walk in, introduce the client, and let the agent that is the expert on that building do their job. Keep your mouth shut, and you'll learn what kind of kitchen is this. You'll learn what kind of a kitchen it is. You'll learn about the appliances because the other agent will tell you about them. And then you walk outside and be like, oh, did you like those Hercules washer and dryer set? Did you like that renovated kitchen with those black marble countertops from Italy? I didn't know they were from Italy, but he said so. So they're from Italy. It's a lot more of that.
I learned about when I was looking at a property about the blinds that I forgot what they're called, but I want those that they don't break. They're harder. What are they called? The prison, not prison, but I
want prison blinds.
No, not
bars.
The little, what are they called? I forgot, but I want some of those. They're expensive as heck though, but I want some of those.
You know what? That's what we get you. But I mean, that's the kind of thing somebody tells you.
What they're called. I forgot the name. I don't know the name of them, but I want some of those. It's like a button you push or something, and they just. Yeah. I'll come up with them in a minute. When the show is over, I'll find out all those blinds. But yeah, I guess for me, so with real estate, what do you get a little bit of everything, right? You see a little bit of everything in terms of clients.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great industry. One of the really cool things about our industry is I get to see a lot of really cool apartments. And in Manhattan, where there's so many different diverse backgrounds and cultures and classes and wages, I've got to hang out in everything from $220,000 condos in Brooklyn to $15 million and $30 million co-ops in Manhattan, and each one of them had something amazing in them. So you get to learn like, okay, well, this is what $6.5 million will buy you on the Upper West Side versus $500,000 on the Upper West Side. And both exist. It's just really, what are you looking for in a place? You want a brownstone with roof access in a backyard and an elevator with a gym in it? Or do you want a small little spot that's just, that's a condo, that's a studio that's really great with an awesome little association and a park across the street? And those things are great, and I get to hang out in all of them for a few minutes every week.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cause like when I was looking for, I'm in the middle of, so it's home or condo. And so for me, I'm like home because I want to control my environment. Condo, I don't really, cause you just never know what you get. So you got to deal with neighbors and that's too close to you.
That's why you do your research,
Exactly. So so it's just the issue in DC is that you have only maybe limited because everything's being bought. So it's like, dang, you have to like really have your eyes open to see something. And when you see it, put that bid in and get it. So yeah.
I mean, it's a lot, but again, it's also, do you want to change your own water heater? Or what do you want to have to call maintenance and be like, yo, somebody get up here and fix my sink?
That too.
I'm not changing water heaters. I'm calling somebody. Get Lewis up here. Fix it. That's what my association fees are for. Thank you.
So yeah, that's the pros. That's the pros part. And I want a basement. That's the thing. Because I want my dog. So
You can get a condo that's pet friendly, or do you trap your dog in the basement?
No, I just want, well, the basement, I have 2 cats. Well, actually one is really not mine, but that's another story. But anyway, so I want them to have somewhere to run around. And so that's what that basement is. But like, I want the dog too. So, and that's why I want the house. So yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. And you get to mow the lawn, and you get to change the water heaters, and you get to.
I ain't doing no lawn. I'm gonna let it grow all the way up so I can't be seen. No, I'm joking.
Oh Lord.
No, so they could call me. So they can call on me. She has her grass too high. That's hilarious when people do that. I've heard somebody told me that they got caught on for that. I said,
yeah, if you let it grow enough, they'll come cut it and then charge you for it.
And your own property, the homeowner's association.
I know people who have let their grass get too high. The city will send them a notice and then come out and cut their grass and then charge them like a crazy amount of money. Be like, we had to send the city out to cut your grass. So,
but why? It's their property. I don't get that, but why? That's their property.
There's a few reasons. One, it can be a hazard to the rest of the neighborhood because in some areas of the country, high grass breeds vermin and mice, field mice, that sort of thing. It also brings down property values. Imagine everybody on one block has got nice manicured lawns.
Oh yeah,
You got a kid who's got like weeds growing up all over the place, and if you don't
not that, I would never I'm talking about like if I just, for instance, like the grass gets up this high or something, and I just forget about it. Like I'm just like, you know what, I'm busy. It'll get done or whatnot, and then I get a call. You're gonna have to pay a $500 fine. What do you mean?
But your grass has to get really high for them to do that. We're not talking inches. And it also depends. I mean, because you can live in a townhouse, you can live in a gated community where it could be written into the bylaws of the townhomes. Like everybody in this community, you agree that your grass doesn't get more than 2 inches high. And then you got Karen 3 doors over who's going around with a ruler every Sunday checking everybody's grass height. So, you never know.
And that's what I'm talking about too. Like people, I've heard some people say that they have those neighbors that are always being nosy and just don't mind their own business. Like that's so like, wow.
But I mean, there's that, and then there's you agreed to keep your grass 2 inches high, so mow your grass. I mean, I don't know, but that's why I live in a condo. I ain't got the grass is on the property. I don't mess with that. I'm good.
Oh, look, I feel like it's me, like the alarms or whatnot. I have to always mute my thing. I'm like, oh, is that me? No, I'm laughing because like I was like, oh, let me mute my mic because I hear the fires or police roaming around.
I think that might have become a fuzz.
No, that's cool. No. I was laughing because it always happens to me. I'm surprised nobody ain't riding around today. Yeah. So in terms of like meal plans, like is your meal plan different since you're doing an Ironman?
I mean, my diet is pretty consistent. I try not to do drastic changes to it in general. I try to just eat healthy in general. I always include a cheat day. In general, I'm more water than anything else. More vegetables, more, less fried foods. We try to keep it pretty healthy. Another thing is portion control size. I find that portion control size tends to be the big thing with me. Eating healthy is easy, but if you eat all of it, it's still not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I live with, it's just Nikki and I. So sometimes it's hard to cook for just two,
Really?
Well, because there are very few things that we make that are just like, okay, this is going to be two helpings, one for you and one for me. There's always some left over, and what if you want?
You're right. Because when I stayed with my mom, it was just the two of us, and she would just, and so she would have what she was eating, and I would have what I was eating because I worked at Kids Foot Locker. So I would always, as soon as I got my paycheck, oh, I already know what I'm getting. I'm about to give me this kind of meal or whatnot. And then of course she would cook things that I liked. And then sometimes she would cook whenever it's something that I didn't like or whatnot, I would just cook something that I liked or whatnot.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we actually got a meal plan service that we use a few days a week, and they send over individual meals so we can kind of pick what we're doing, and we'll go with a certain theme or whatever, and then it's just enough. So it's fine.
Do you like the service though? Is it because I've been thinking about trying some of those.
I think we've tried a few of them over the years. There hasn't been one that I really don't like. We're using one now freshly. It's fine. It's about consistency. It's about consistency. So we use it a few times a week, and then the rest of the week we kind of manage a moderate diet. Like I said, a lot of eggs, a lot of white meat. When we do meat, a lot of eggs. Plenty of vegetables. Healthy snacks, lots of fruits and vegetables.
So that sounds good. And so, quick question. So, what advice would you give for somebody wanting to do the Ironman?
Pick a race. Pick a race and register for it. That's the first thing. That's always the first thing. You tend to, again, if you're waiting to be ready for it, you'll never be ready. You're never going to wake up one day and go, okay, I trained enough, it's time. But if you say, I'm going to do one in October, every day leading up to it, you're going to be like, oh my God, I got that thing to do. And you're more likely to do it. So whether it's an Ironman or any other kind of triathlon, set a goal. I'm a big fan of SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. So by registering for a date, you now have a timely, registered manifestation of your goal. It's physical, it's in time, and you have to be ready by that date. That race is coming up on you, whether you do anything or not. So do something. So if you're thinking about if you have a goal around a triathlon, I say register. I say register for it today. And then if on the day of you still don't want to do it, don't do it. But register. Because you can't show up on the day of a triathlon and be like, hey, I'm ready now. It's not the way it works. At some point you got to put it on the calendar.
And also, okay, so you said you do motivational speaking. So of course I read about that. So have you ever thought about becoming a professor or a teacher?
There are a lot of teachers in my family. I've been an adjunct professor for fitness-based courses in the past. At this point, I'm good. I like what I do. As a real estate agent, real estate has been really good to me. So at some point in the future, I wouldn't mind teaching real estate courses. At some point, I don't mind teaching, but right now I'm pretty happy doing what I'm doing.
I feel you because they got on your nerves. I teach as a professor part-time. And so like, yeah, it's sociology. So I understand. So yeah. What about, okay, so in New York, are y'all open yet?
Yeah,
Open
we're
back
open
completely?
pretty
When,
much
when did y'all open back completely?
last weekend. And the
Okay,
beach,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
beaches are open today. I mean, the weather stinks, but the beaches are opening up. We're pretty much,
Mm,
we're pretty well open. All the mask mandates, as far as I know, are. I mean, you still wear them inside of a few places, but
mm.
they're talking about being done with all that. We're pretty well open. I
Done
mean, in
with the
most New
mask?
York. Say again.
Done with wearing the mask?
I think you still have to wear them on trains, buses, trains, and inside of some stores. But the restaurants are open full capacity. I was at a place last night.
Mhm.
Nobody was wearing masks inside.
Mm,
Everybody's vaccinated. We all got our little things. New York has been really good about that. But I mean, they also didn't just they were very, very closed, and then they made sure everybody got vaccinated, and the percentage went down below a certain. Then they opened up. So our infection rate is below 1%.
yeah, I don't. Yesterday, I seen too many unmasked people in Maryland because I live in DC, but that's just down the street. So I was just like, no, I got kind of. I was like, I'm wearing my mask, and I've been vaccinated, but I'm wearing my mask
You gotta do what's right for you.
because oh no, yeah, I feel you. So that's good that New York is open up full
Yeah,
capacity.
I mean, I heard a really great commentary on this. They said, if you trust the CDC when they told you to wear a mask, and you trust the CDC when they told you to get vaccinated, when they tell you it's safe, trust the CDC. So if they're saying if you're vaccinated, you can be outside without a mask and
Mhm.
inside with other vaccinated people without a mask, I trust that.
Yeah, I
And
feel you.
I'm not in any of the demographics really that I'm not in a terribly high risk situation. I have asthma, but shy of that, I'm pretty healthy in all of the things, and I'm fully vaccinated, so I feel comfortable going out and about.
How is it like being doing the fitness and all that with asthma? My mother has asthma.
It's challenging, but I manage it. I keep an inhaler with me at all times, and we just kind of, I try to listen to my body, and I do what I do, and I don't do what doesn't feel right. And if I've been out on certain times, and I can tell when the asthma is getting the better of me, and when it does, I cut the workout short because it's not worth my life, and you
Amen.
get home. But for the most part, it's pretty. I've had it since college, so I deal with it pretty well, I think.
That's good. So, 'cause I'm not. So, is there any? Oh, that's what I'm gonna say. So, the podcast. How did that come into place? The podcast, the
So
empathy in his girl. How did that come into place?
during the pandemic, one of our good friends, again, I mentioned Roger Ortega,
Mhm.
started his own show, the Soft Rock with RO, and I've been on that a couple times. And Katrina and Kat, shout out to Kick Up Your Heels Entertainment,
Yeah.
reached out to Nikki and I. Nikki already has a show called the Ladies First Chit Chat Crew, which you should check out every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook at the Ladies First Chit Chat Crew. And Nikki was already doing that. Roger was doing his show, and Katrina, I think after one of his karaoke things, somebody said, "Well, Billy and Nikki should have a show," and I wasn't really. I was a no. I wasn't interested. Um, but they came at me with a really good idea, and I said, "Well, if we're going to do it, let's make it a little bit different." We decided to do something that revolved around pop culture, politics, and positive stories, and we wanted to have something that kind of chronicled the daily lives and struggles and the things around a New York City couple living the entrepreneurial lifestyle. One of them happens to be an amputee, and Nikki came up with a great name of The Amputee and His Girl. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about when we started. The Black Lives Matter thing was really kind of coming to a full vision, a full vision of the country. And of course, everything with the presidency and politics. And I love politics. I love following them. I love talking about them. I love debating them with people that don't believe in the same types of politics because I want to know what other people think. I do. I generally
Yeah.
like if you don't feel the same way I do, explain to me why you don't feel that way. And maybe
True.
I'll change my mind, but I want to know because I also feel like when other people that I talk to that agree with me, I want to be able to say, well, this is what someone that doesn't agree with us said.
Mhm.
So, and I come from Kansas. So there are a lot of people in the Midwest that are very staunch, Republicans and very classic in that way. And so it was important to me to be able to understand what other people are thinking. And plus, I'm a
Mm-hmm.
I'm a liberal, but I'm also open-minded. So
Mm-hmm.
what if we're wrong? Is there anything here? And nobody wants to. I'll be honest. When it comes to Donald Trump, I didn't want to believe that he was as evil as he was, or as he turned out to be. So I kept waiting for, okay, well, maybe if let's listen to what he's saying and see if maybe. And the more you listen, the more you're like, no, he's really that crazy. All right, well. So but that all of those things combined gave us a lot of stuff to play with. So we threw our show out there, and it's gotten a pretty good response. So we love it every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the amputeenhisgirl.com or on our Facebook page. I believe we're on YouTube as well. It's a great thing. Once a week we get on there and we talk about a little politics, a little pop culture. We have a guest on, usually someone that touch moves and inspires others from one of our communities, and it's a great opportunity to get to connect with people.
Well, that's awesome. So music-wise, are you going to do an album, work on an album one day?
Probably not. I think my music days are kind of over. It's something I haven't done. I'm pretty serious about the things I focus on. Mm-hmm. And although I spent a lot of years focusing on music, I've considered myself pretty well retired from that. All of my energy is in real estate these days. That's
okay. Well, where can we find you at?
That said, anything is possible. So you never know where I might pop up. So you can find me on Instagram at the Real Estate Triathlete. You can also find me on the Amputee and His Girl hashtag, or at the Amputee and His Girl, or at Real Estate Triathlete on Instagram. If you Google Billy Davis, you'll come up with 30 people before me. So good luck with that. I have a very common name, but that's where most people find me.
And also, so you said your Instagram. Okay, just want to make sure. What about Facebook page?
Facebook, just Billy Davis. I'm in there. Look for the one-legged guy. I think I'm the only one-legged Billy Davis on Facebook right now.
Well, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you for being a special guest. And so on June 4th, I have Miss Nikki Kimbrough. She is a fitness expert, entrepreneur, and join me at 6 p.m. Make sure you follow the sites and make sure you all stay safe and healthy and follow those rules if you're going to wear a mask and all that stuff. And thank you so much. And also shout out to Kat. Thank you for arranging all of this. And you all have a great one. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Bye.